now?
Okay, so what we have here is a small replica of the State Street cable car. As you know, Chicago has a rich history when it comes to transportation, and it being the crossroads of America. Public transportation was huge going back to the mid-19th century here in Chicago. Railroads and horse-drawn carriages, and then the cable car. Now, we all know that San Francisco has the original cable car, still has cable cars, but Chicagoans were very impressed by the cable car system in San Francisco, and they wanted to use that in Chicago, in the downtown area, and what we call the Loop right now. And in fact, the Loop, some historians say that the Loop comes from the loops created from the cable cars in the late 19th century. So the cable cars were sandwiched in between the horse-drawn carriages and the electric cars that came after, the electric trolleys that came afterwards. And the cable cars only lasted for about 25 years here in Chicago, but they really made a huge impact. And there were 3 private lines starting in about the 1885 to about 1906. There were 3 private companies, and the first one and the first cable cars that were really more famous than any of the others was the State Street cable car, running from about Madison Street down to about the 33rd Street. And the way that cable cars worked was that they had a cable clamp underneath them, and that cable clamp would clamp onto, like pliers, onto a cable that ran underground, and these cables were turned by powerhouses. And all throughout the city of Chicago, there were about 13 powerhouses throughout the city of Chicago. And you grab onto that cable, and the cable would just pull you along. These went at a whopping 12 miles per hour, but they would occasionally stop and let people on board. And in the 25 or so years these cable cars were around, there were millions of people who used this form of public transportation.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, especially during that time period you're naming, because we take off as a population, right? We become the second highest population in the country relatively quickly from when we get founded as a city, right, or chartered. So I guess that would make sense. Millions of people have been on our trolleys.
Absolutely. And what's fun about this one is you can also flip these chairs like they actually did in cable cars. You flip the backs of the seats depending on whether you wanted to sit forward facing or backward facing. And this piece in particular also has a really cool connection with MSI, the museum. It was made in the 1930s and donated to the museum as an interactive, not just something for collections, but something to be put out on the floor that operated, which is very much a part of our DNA, is to create these, bring science alive and create these immersive, interactive experiences for our guests, and this did it.
This couldn't be in my house. It would already be broke, but thank you for showing this. This is amazing.
Sure, you're welcome.